But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good morning and welcome to NUFC Matters review of Eddie Howe's press conference yesterday. Sorry, it is a day late. I am currently working on a film up in the northeast and time is of the essence, but I did manage to listen to Eddie's press conference last night and I didn't want to let my subscribers down. So here we go. First up, as usual at the press conference, was Razor from BBC Radio Newcastle. We talked a little bit about the pre-season friendly, the second pre-season friendly, and Eddie called it a mini pre-season for players. He said that the players needed to stay fit and to stay sharp, and that it was great to have a couple of friendlies in there. And let's hope, of course, as well, we have a Carabao Cup game as well, if all goes well against Crystal Palace this coming week. Injuries was the next thing that Razor covered. He said there are no new problems, Eddie. He said there are a few bumps and bruises, and that ASM and John Joe Shelby are okay, but they're not going to rush them. Emil and Matt are both still injured, and basically the long-term injuries aren't okay. John Joe, he said it's his second proper week of training and he needs more match exposure. No Big Joe, of course, because he's suspended. He said he's been a model of consistency. And he says he needed to score last week and he was pleased that he did. He says he is steely and he's got a great work rate. Talked a little bit about Trippier giving Lascelles the armband. He says Jamal has been a great leader off the pitch and that his attitude to training has been exemplary. So a lot of praise for Lascelles. And he said Southampton's a very difficult game and that we respect the job that Ralph has done at Southampton, but that they are going there to win the game. Keith Downey from Sky was up next. He said, are the team exceeding expectations? He said, Eddie Howe said it depends on who's setting those expectations. But he did say that he was pleased with the consistency in the training and gameplay. He was also asked about the fans getting a little bit carried away, maybe, with where we are in the league. He says, I stay detached from emotion of fans' expectancy. He says, and I don't focus too much on results and targets. Talked a little bit about the transfer window, asking him if he had any names in mind. He said that he hadn't had any discussions on the transfer market or potential targets or money to be spent yet. Andy Sixsmith was on next. He said that the banner that War Flags had held up, he said was rather special. What did he think of it? And he said, look, the fans are special. They're part of our club, a massive part of our club, and we receive their messages loud and clear. He was asked about the defence being the best in the Premier League. He was asked which area he would like to improve next. He said the next area to improve is getting those kind of performances week in, week out. Andy asked him about Longstaff. He said apparently Longstaff in an interview, he says, if Botman is Rolls Royce, then I'm a runaround. And, basically Eddie said, look, Sean's been excellent. He's got a very good attitude and he churns out the highest physical stats. And he also said that Miggy's up for everything bar manager of the month. Which he laughed at. He said, look, we don't expect those kind of goals every week. Tap-ins would be fine. He says, show reels of his outstanding goals will surpass many at this moment in time because he's had such a good month. Also talked about Bruno and Kieran Trippier both being nominated and the fact that Bruno had said to vote Miggy. And Eddie said, look, that's just a genuine love for Miggy from Bruno. And he says, we are working as a team and everyone's working for the team. He also says, what do you say as a manager when your team's playing so well? He says, look, every game's difficult. So we've got to prepare the players in a confident way, but we still have to do our homework and we have to send them out organised. Nisha from the BBC asked about Byrne being mentioned as English cover for Chilwell being injured. He didn't say much on that. I just said, look, Gareth Southgate knows Dan Byrne. He'll do his work. He knows him inside out. And he said he couldn't place higher praise on Dan Byrne. Also, she asked about the next 3 games. He said, look, we're keen to get these next 3 games in and play them to the best of our ability and get the result. Craig Hope was up next. He says, with Almiron playing so well, is the right wing situation, as he's changing different now with the transfer window opening up. And he said, I wouldn't listen to outside speculation, Craig. He says, we'll always look to improve the squad. And again, he emphasised that he loves Miggy a lot. Craig also said, Almiron or Grealish, who would you rather have? He says, look, I won't get drawn into that kind of stuff. Well done, Eddie. I couldn't catch who this person was, but he asked about Darlow. He just said, look, Darlow is training again, but he's still a long way off. He also asked this person, what's changed with Miggy? And he just said, look, he's formed some great relationships on the pitch with the likes of Willock, Longstaff and Trippier. He says the right-hand side is really strengthened. And from his position, he was just, again, full of praise for Miggy. Miles Starforth from the Shields Gazette said, ahead of your anniversary, any thoughts to go back to, that day before you took the job? And he said, I was just looking at it, thinking if I get the job, what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And I was preparing, in case I got the job. And he says, it's been a great year and it's gone very quickly. He was also asked about Sharon Anderson by Miles. And he says, yes, Sharon Anderson. He says, yeah, both are fit and both available for selection. Lee Ryder, Chris was up next. I think it was Chris from the Chronicle. He's just talking about, Bruno and Joe Linton's performances last year, in this fixture, and he just says it was the start of a wonderful journey for both players, and they're doing really well. And also said that the World Cup's going to be a perfect stage for Bruno. Lee Ryder was up asking about Dubravka, and basically, there's been a lot of chatter in the newspapers about Dubravka. Will he come back? Eddie Howe basically said the door is still open for him, but it's up to what Martin Dubravka wants. He's also asked by Lee Ryder about Paul Dummett, and he says he is running again, but he's still seeing specialists about these muscle injuries. He also emphasised that he's keen to get everyone back fit. He wants to use some of these players who've been out to have a big impact on the squad. Kieran was up next. He said that the media plaudits are nice. He was asking him because he's had a few this week. He says, media plaudits are right. He says, it's better than hearing negative comments about yourself. He says, but it doesn't change us or our mentality or attitude. And also, he pushed him a little bit more, Kieran, on the transfers. And he said, it's a big danger if you bring in someone who does not have the same team ethic, So it's going to be very careful who they bring into this squad, which is great to hear as well. Martin, not sure who this is, but he was on next asking, what was the first thing you changed when you came into the job? He says, well, we didn't really change one thing. We just had clear ideas of what we wanted to do. Asked about results which really weren't as positive in the early days. He says the Cambridge defeat really hurt him. He says, I still feel it. He says, we wanted to win that game, make an impression, make a statement. And he says, we didn't. And he says, the Watford game, he says, because we were close to winning that. And he says, there was a late goal conceded. And he says, we felt there was going to be a long way to go. But luckily for Newcastle, things changed. He also said he always felt that the group was capable of turning things around. He says it was a good starting point. There was a good starting point in that Wolves game. Results didn't match, which led to the element of doubt within the players. He says, but the Leeds result, not the Watford result, he says, changed things around. The result down at Leeds changed things, and we went on a roll, went on a roll from there. He's also said, is the club bigger than you thought? And he went, no. Simple answer to a daft question, really. Oscar, I think that's him from the Sun, said, could you have envisaged Miggy turning things around like this? And he just simply took it away from Miggy, and he says, never underestimate a player's ability to change. He says, I've seen it happen at Bournemouth, and these things happen in football. He was asked about Miggy's right foot by Oscar as well, and he just says, I don't analyse feet. Again, weird that some of these journalists come up with some of these questions, asking about his strength in, one foot and the other. These things can be turned around by the media, not necessarily the person who is asking the question, of course. Simon was up next. He asked if the Grealish comment last season motivated Miggy. He says, I've never discussed it with him and he's never discussed it with me. And he says, personally, I don't think it's played a part at all. His motivations are bigger than that. Jordan was up next, and he asked about Callum Wilson, if he was okay, because he said on his podcast, he said he'd felt a little run down. He just smirked because this podcast must be one of those things he gets questions about. He clearly doesn't listen to it. And he says, yeah, he'll be okay. Also asked about Shearer meeting Bruno. He says, it's nice to see two legends together. And he says, I'm sure the fans enjoyed that. Craig Hope was back on again. He said, do you think that 6 out of the 10 players starting last weekend's game and the 10 out of the 10 players that finished the game were actually players that were here before you came to the club, validates what you have done and silences any critics that we've actually bought this current league position, this success that we're finding at the moment? And he said, I've said many times, we haven't bought this. But yeah, look, he's not going to pat himself on the back. Let me do it for you, Eddie. You've done an absolutely brilliant job in a short space of time. and long may it continue. I'll be back at 1 o'clock, folks, with a pre-match Patter show. But thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please hit the like buttons. Please give it a share. And please continue to support NUFC Matters. I'll play out with the ads. Cheers. A big thanks to all our sponsors, starting with Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals. You can find them at 304 Old Durham Road on Gateshead. Telephone 0191 478 273 or email Darren at darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk or the website darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. Their website is thegohd.com. And thanks to 3 Property Investments, who specialise in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the Northeast. They offer a full in-house service from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give the guys a follow on Instagram, matty.patter_northeast property and phil.reed_northeast property, or email phil@3property.co.uk should you be interested in getting a good property deal. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria. You can order them by going to the website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by calling 01768 210 102. Thanks to the guys at Blowhole Brewery. You can find them at blowholebrewery.co.uk. Got a vast range of beers. They're a new brewery company, and their cans are suitably addressed, like the Geordie Juice here, in the strips of Newcastle United from the 90s. Big thank you to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things, and to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website. If you want to subscribe, then hit the subscription button. If you want to hit the likes, then hit the thumb up, and please share to your social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify, and the rest goes up 24 hours after the show has finished. If you want to join, well, you can click join underneath the video and become a member for a small fee. If you want to pay the £25 fee and get a cup, a pen, a scarf, a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw, then go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and click membership, or use your smartphone on the QR code, which will take you straight there. We also give you a free car sticker. If you're a subscriber, simply email John at nufcmatters.com to claim your free car window sticker today. We also support the food bank on here. nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you can find the matchday bucket and make a virtual donation 365 days of the year. We still do a lot of events in and around the region. If you want to see Supermac, pre-match and after-match, you can go to the Dog and Parrot in Newcastle and hear Malcolm give his views on the game and listen to what he has to say about his career as well. Always a great afternoon. Kids are welcome. Good food, good beer. And get yourself into Pumphrey's. You can always see John Anderson and John Gibson in there pre-match on the Cloth Market in Newcastle. A couple of events coming up in 2023, an evening with Peter Beardsley, Friday the 10th of February at St Dom's Catholic Club. You can get the tickets direct from the venue. And Peter Beardsley is also at the Tyneside Irish Centre on Friday, February the 17th. Tickets available from Woucher for that one. Get yourself on the Woucher, make a cracking Christmas present for any Newcastle fan. Also, an evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark and John Beresford, Friday the 2nd of June, 2023 at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth. Tickets for that are available from www.healandtour.org.uk/events. And if you fancy a Christmas jumper, get the Bruno Christmas jumper from nufcmatters.com.